Hey, number ones, welcome to Metatron's Academy. What the heck is the algorithm doing? Like, I don't know, but I got this video in my suggested, and it says, growing up in China as a white man in the 1950s. Man, that's a mouthful. Wait, so this guy is a white guy. He grew up in China. So that already, you'd be like, oh, cool. Does he speak? Is he double? Is he native in both? Like, well, what's the original language? But on top of that, this happened in the 1950s. So this guy went through the communist revolution, did he? Man, I'm curious. Let's see. I mean, I don't know if this is going to be about language. It's got to be about language as well, right?
Chinese at the same time as English? Like, what was your journey? Did you learn Chinese at the same time as English? Like, what was your journey learning Chinese?
I Chinese first, because my parents thought that living in China, because I was born in China, they figured that it's more important to be able to integrate into society. So
I love that. So he sounds British. But I love it. Oh, this makes him so interesting. So he is a native speaker of Mandarin, I guess. When they say China, I'm assuming Mandarin, but if this is Hong Kong, which would make sense for a British person, right? Then it would be Cantonese. So we'll have to see which version of Chinese this is going to be. But then again, he sounds native in English too. So this guy has got both.
Mum and Dad actually went to the trouble of speaking Chinese at home until I was 6. So basically, English, I started English when I was 6.
Wow.
Okay.
I would love to get a clip of you speaking in Chinese. Maybe.
好啊，没问题。说什么？
What is that?
What do you want me to say?
Can you tell me how is your day going today in Chinese?
你问我今天怎么样哈？这个嘛，你看，我现在，哎呀，我受伤了。那天，8号我去滑雪，我滑得特别得意，跳了一个小包，一拐弯得，一个美女，啊，滑着单板，给我撞飞了。
Is it only me, but does he sound a little northern Chinese? I thought I heard some Erhua, but then again, I might have to listen to him a few times. Let me hear.
飞了，把我这个腿这儿给我扭了。
Yeah, he even said Jer. I think, yeah.
这韧带现在是有点撕裂，不太严重。可是这个雪季算是完蛋，滑不了雪了啊。也许。
Without understanding, I feel I got some of the message.
Yeah, I said I was having such fun on my second ski of the year, and then I just done a mini jump, and I was really pleased, and I did a turn, and then this young lady crashed into me on a snowboard and sent me flying. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's in Chinese. I speak Beijing colloquial Chinese.
That's what I thought. So it's like Beijing Hua. Is it? Fascinating.
Yeah.
Because, with 1.4 billion Chinese speakers, there's many different. So some of them are 山东，你们谁给我说点山东话？
Some people here have
河
different.
南人吗？
Yeah.
河南没有啊，河南中中 So this is the different dialects. He's from 河南. Henan, when they say good or okay, they say 中. 你呢？广东 Oh, Cantonese. Yeah. You say
You speak Cantonese and Mandarin? The two?
普通话、广东话都能讲。
No, just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit of what?
Oh, like hello or
That's English.
English.
no,
in
你好,
Cantonese.
你好.
Oh, in Mandarin. So I'm kind of surprised because I thought more and more people, particularly in the younger generation in Hong Kong, would speak Mandarin kind of like in European countries we learn English, if you will, because that's sort of the way it plays, at least now. We were talking about hundreds and hundreds of years ago, the roles might be swapped depending on the time period. But then again, like, that's the way I see it right now. So, like, of course, she would be a native speaker of Cantonese, just like I'm a native speaker of Italian. But we do study English in Italy because of the importance that it has at the cultural level. and also for business, international, whatever it is that you might need it, which of course makes Mandarin the one that I would imagine you would have to learn, unless they're going for English at this point, who knows? If you're enjoying this video so far, please take a moment to check out my Patreon page. With as little as a $5 support, you can help us ensure that we can continue to produce high quality and high researched content, and at the same time you get access to polls, extra videos, unlisted streams, and much more. Thank you so much.
你好。
你好啊。
Yeah.
哦，你广东人不会讲广东话。
Because my parents is in Tianjin.
Oh, you didn't grow up there.
I just studied there.
You know,
no
Chinese, like when you say where are you from, often they say they come where their grandparents came from.
In your childhood, were you raised by like a more Western education system?
No,
or like what's your? Can you tell me a bit about like integrating into Chinese society?
Well, first of all, in the 50s, there was the Western community, the foreign community was minuscule. Of course, you know, after the Revolution of '49, the business people left, the religious people left. China had, you know, diplomatic relations were mostly with Taiwan rather than Beijing.
Yeah.
And so there was hardly any foreign. So obviously the infrastructure for a separate thing. There was no ghetto. When I went to kindergarten and primary school, a class of 40 students packed.
This is fascinating, by the way.
Into one 9 by 6 meters classroom. I was the only non-Chinese.
Were you treated all right? Was it difficult socially?
We were.
Any challenges along that?
Foreigners who stayed on were treated well. I mean, like in the hard years, for example, there were people who starved to death in 1960. I don't believe a single foreigner starved to death because we were guaranteed, guests and so on. I got a ration and I was guaranteed 26.5 jin of carbs, of grain per month.
Yeah,
Now,
because you might think, wow, do they need to really go ration? Of course, look at the population size. It's insane.
That to, let's say that your average loaf of bread might be, let's say it got 300 grams of flour to make a loaf of bread. It's a pretty big loaf. I'd be able to I'd get 250. Yeah, I'd
He was thinking it in Mandarin. Fascinating.
get about maybe 2 loaves of bread, 1.5, 2 loaves of bread per day.
That does kind of speak to the fact that he must have grown up at least using Mandarin for some aspects over English. Because, for instance, while I tend to think in the language that I speak, so right now I think in English. I'm not thinking in Italian and translating in English because that would be extremely stupid. That's a thing to do. Well, I shouldn't say stupid. That's just because it kind of sounds like I'm mocking. I'm not. But I mean, it would be extremely ineffective, right? But when it comes to numbers, usually I tend to revert back to Italian when speed is of the essence, extreme precision, unless the system is so different that I might get so confused that, like, for instance, one mang in Japanese, meaning 10,000, but it's one unit. So there are situations in which if I'm really deep into the language, I will try to think in the language if I'm trying to make sure that I don't mess up. But a lot of the times I will revert back to Italian when it comes to counting in my head. That's the one thing that I tend to do, unless I want to specifically practice, but then it needs to be something I trigger intentionally.
Was my grain ration. Then of course there was vegetables and other things. So no, I didn't, the hard years, it was certainly different because my parents, being anthropologists, focused on the bottom. They didn't want privilege. I think they were the reverse.
Makes
If
sense.
anything, they wanted us to live more like the bottom than the top.
I can respect that 100%.
So we were
You'll learn a lot more. You'll make sure this guy was not spoiled. You know that for a fact.
packed off to boarding school, and I can tell you the boarding school food was pretty ghastly. And from primary grade 4, I started boarding school. 6 per room and 3 double-decker beds.
Do you agree with them? Do you think there is something special about the simple life? Like, what's your take on that?
No, I don't believe in. I'm not an ascetic, you know. I like good food and all that. And but what I believe in is that people should be aware, of, you know, humanity and how they exist, and to live in some ivory tower or in some little ghetto. I don't believe in that, and in China I have never ever lived in an exclusively foreign compound, and I never will.
That's fine. That's totally fine. He's fully integrated. He understands the culture deeply because he was bathed in it. And I think that's amazing. One thing that I would say, I agree with him 100%, but definitely there is one point that I think children can learn, and it's to be grateful. So even if you begin with modest upbringing, then even if you achieve a certain degree of wealth, you'll be grateful for it because you'll remember. But if that's the only thing you've ever known, you come from money, then not only you won't be grateful for it, you'll take it for granted, but you'll complain when you don't have everything exactly how you want it. It makes life a lot harder, particularly if you lose it at one point. That's an important life lesson right there. I'm not saying you have to necessarily manufacture poverty, but definitely don't. It's important, I think. I mean, I'm going to be a father soon, and I do want to make sure that I teach my children to be grateful for what we have, and keep in mind that not everyone has what we have. It's important to say.
When I was a kid, I'd see these, whoa, and then you find that they're like 58 years old, no teeth left, and so on. You know, now 80-year-olds are...
Yeah, he said Lao Tai Tai. That means an old woman. It means kind of means old wife, but it means like an elderly woman. It's like an expression.
Spry. So many, So people are living much longer. I'm a bit of a reactionary in some ways. I think that people are I mean, if you walk into a classroom in a primary school, or let's say middle school, maybe 60% are wearing glasses. So it's not healthy. They're not getting enough physical exercise, but a lot of...
I'm not sure the connection between physical exercise and wearing glasses, but...
I think part of that is Chinese culture, from Confucius on, the dignity of knowledge and book learning and
Confucius.
So on, and people are getting, I have my granddaughters, you see them in the picture, when they were going to local primary school. My daughter's a single parent, and she is a full-time worker, so when school finishes at about 3 or something, the kids have to be picked up. In my day, you just walked home, even if it was 2 miles. Yeah. But now, boy, you're not allowed. The kids are actually kept on grounds. They're not allowed out the gate unless they're being met by a family member.
That's quite interesting, especially since now there's a lot more.
But to be honest, it kind of sounds like, at least, I mean, Italy's like that. The parents need to come and pick up the children. But Japan is not. I remembered a lot of Japanese children just taking the freaking train on their own when they are like this small.
Cameras and everything as well, right?
Yeah. I mean,
you think it's safer?
I think you know what it is. It's litigation. It's suppose they were let go, and when they crossed the street, they got knocked down.
Yeah.
Well, next thing is the parents would be suing the school for $1 million. So, but what I was going to say was that. So this is now they're in middle school. I don't do this, but when they were in, say, grade 2, 3, 4. Grade 3, because at 4 they were allowed to leave. I'd go at say 3:30 every afternoon and stand there mid a host of grandparents and whatnot, just waiting for the discharge.
Yeah.
And I look around me and I see the typical thing is they all have bags, shoulder school bags, weigh a ton, filled with books and odds and ends. first thing they do is, there you are, Grandma. There you are, Grandpa. And they take it. You gotta be kidding. You carry your own bag. Yeah, so I
really like this guy.
never carried their bag. I mean, if they were sick or so.
Of course.
But there's this pampering that's going on, which I really, I think it's a shame.
Man, if you see what's going on in the West.
A lot of young people in the countryside is much better, actually. I find that when you go to a village school, the kids, they have far more survival skills than city kids.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a convenient society now, right? Everything can be delivered, everything can be picked up.
Oh, I've definitely noticed that, though, the pampering as well.
Yeah, I think it's most unhealthy. And it works both ways. I think that some of it is, the intention is, those grandma and grandpa, they adore their grandchildren, and they feel good about carrying those, 30 pounds of books for their darling whatevers. But it's spoiling them, I think. And I think that but there's also elder care. I think that communities are very friendly to old folk, by and large. Compared to Britain, I mean, I don't know, I visit Britain not too frequently, but it seems to me that by and large old people seem a little more miserable there than here.
Interesting.
I guess China has a tradition of respecting age rather than youth.
Is that Confucianism as well? You mentioned Confucianism.
Confucianism I have strong criticism of certain aspects of Confucianism, but also the whole idea of, it's similar to Christianity. I think that Confucius preached this sort of 仁政, benevolence, compassionate society, that sort of thing, looking after, and 老吾老以及人之老. Did you ever memorize that?
No.
That's a tract from Mencius, actually, where he says, in the good society, one treats the elders of others as you would treat your own elders, and you would treat other people's children as you would treat your own children, and so on. 老吾老以及人之老，幼吾幼以及人之幼, and so on. That's very much, When I just in public in the US, I lived in the US for about 8 years, and I feel that
wow, this guy lived everywhere. Right? In a minute, he's going to be like, oh yeah, well, Elon Musk built a space colony on Mars. Yeah, of course, I lived there before. Yeah, you totally. Yeah, 3 years. 3 years on Mars.
I don't know. Hard to say.
I mean, the homelessness is much more apparent back home. And I don't know if you've been to Canada recently, but it really is sad.
Yeah.
It really is kind of one of the tragedies of our country now.
There are a few others that I have in mind, but I'm not going to say it.
Yes, it's, with Gung Ho, with my organization, we go to visit cooperatives, including Canada, BC Housing, whatever, chocolate factory in Toronto, and so on. And so, and Europe as well. When I went to Brussels and London, homeless people sleeping on the streets with their belongings in bags, and
it's sad. It is sad.
Yes, we saw that in China I saw it in the 80s and 90s for a while.
How did they fix it? I'm so curious. What are they doing that we're not doing back home?
Well, social. I know that in Britain, they got vagrancy laws and so on, and if someone can't state an address or something, they can. I mean, they've had this hundreds of years of.
I wonder if he's talking about like council housing.
Being taken off the street and put into some institution, which may be, human. What about human rights? But I think in the 80s there was a period when people say, because suddenly reform and opening meant freedom of travel.
Yeah.
You can go anywhere you like. Well, people go places without adequate resources, and sometimes they're cold and hungry and homeless. So is it a human right, and does the state have an obligation to round them up and send them home where they belong? And so in the 80s there was a period when they were rounding
90s were peak, by the way.
up people living in say, you know, I've been to places like Manila or Jakarta, where there are huge,
what a traveller,
you know, slums of, you know, where the you know, shanty towns around the city and so on. So Beijing had some of those in the 80s and going into the 90s, but then they were all, so what did they do? They started by rounding them up and sending them home, but then there was a big protest movement saying, you know, so then they stopped carting them home against their will, but then they implemented some changes.
I mean, this could connect to the Kowloon, a discussion about the walled city of Kowloon that I think was demolished in 1996 or 8. Actually, I don't remember the exact date, even though I've recently played a game that is set in Kowloon, and I played it in Mandarin. I don't know if you watched that episode, but it's on this, I think it's on this, yes, it is on this channel. But anyways, yeah, no, this was a great interview. I don't want to watch the rest of it because there is only 5 minutes left, so if you are curious, you liked it, please go check out the channel. I believe I showed it in the beginning, but it's this very long, but apparently it's a travel channel, so it makes sense. And at the end of the day, it's not the usual stuff that I watch, but it's one of those times when the algorithm is actually giving me a match that I enjoyed. So I hope you did as well. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.